For decades, Linda had worked 3 jobs: waitressing evening shifts, cleaning beach rentals on weekends, and doing bookkeeping for a local hardware store. Every scraped dollar, every lost hour of sleep, every ache in her knees had gone into raising those boys, and she never regretted a minute of it. But motherhood, as Linda had learned painfully, was not always a two-way street. It was Mother's Day morning, bright and golden, the kind of California morning that made the ocean glisten like a sheet of glass. Linda had baked cookies late into the night, a habit she never outgrew, and packed them neatly into a blue box tied with a silver ribbon. She had bought cards for her sons, even though it was her day, not theirs. She'd found a small toy car for her grandson, little Noah, the only person in the world who still made her heart burst with uncomplicated joy. She looked at the mirror and adjusted her white button-down blouse. Age had softened her jawline and left silver strands in her chestnut hair, but her eyes were still sharp, still hopeful, still foolishly hopeful. "Please," she whispered to herself, "let this year be better." By 11 a.m., she had pulled into her son Matthew's driveway. Their backyard was already noisy with voices. When she stepped out of her car with her cookie box, the screen door flung open. "Mom, you're here!" But there was no warmth in his voice, only the polite excitement someone reserves for a delivery. Still, Linda smiled. "I brought cookies." Matthew didn't answer. He was busy adjusting balloons. His wife Tracy approached with a wide, artificial smile that showed too many teeth. "Oh, good," Tracy said, clapping her hands. "Everyone's waiting for the cake." "The cake?" Before Linda could ask, the back door opened and out came Ryan carrying a white box. He set it on the patio table with theatrical care. This must be the Mother's Day cake, Linda thought, heart softening. Everyone, a mix of in-laws, friends, and neighbors, gathered around. Noah ran to Linda, hugging her legs. "Grandma, we made something for you." Before she could kneel to hug him properly, Tracy lifted the boy away gently but firmly. "Not yet, sweetie. We have to show Grandma the special surprise." Linda felt a pinprick of confusion. Why does everyone look excited? Not warm excited, a different kind. Matthew pulled off the cake lid with a flourish. The words on the cake were written in bright red frosting, cheerful and cruel. Linda's breath left her body in a single, sharp exhale. Her heart knocked against her ribs. A ringing in her ears drowned out the laughter because everyone was laughing. Even Ryan, even Tracy covering her mouth dramatically, even Matthew. "It's a joke, Mom," Matthew laughed louder when he saw her face. "Just a funny little hint," Tracy added. "You know, for your own good. You're getting up there in age." Someone from the crowd called out, "Read it out loud, Linda." More laughter. Linda felt a wave of dizziness. She reached for the table and steadied herself. "Move to assisted living," she whispered. Her voice cracked. Why would you put that on a Mother's Day cake?" "Oh, Mom, lighten up," Matthew said, patting her shoulder roughly. "You've always been sensitive," Tracy muttered. The humiliation washed over Linda like cold water. She forced a shaky laugh, anything to stop the burning behind her eyes. But then came the final blow. Ryan placed a hand on her back and said loud enough for everyone to hear, "Seriously though, Mom, we've been talking. It might be time. You live alone, you forget things, you get tired faster. Assisted living could be, better for everyone." Better for everyone, meaning better for them. Linda felt something inside her collapse, a tiny, fragile thing she didn't know still existed. the belief that her sons still saw her as their mother. Noah tugged at her blouse again. "Grandma, why are you sad?" Tracy swooped in, pulling him back. "Sweetie, Grandma's just being dramatic." The word hung in the air, slicing Linda deeper than any knife could. Dramatic? For crying quietly? For feeling anything? Linda swallowed hard. The air tasted metallic. I think I should go," she managed to say. "Already?" Matthew didn't bother hiding his relief. "We haven't even eaten yet," Tracy said, smiling like this was all normal. Linda turned toward the gate. "Bye, Grandma," Noah called, starting to run toward her. But Tracy grabbed him again. "Like Grandma, rest, honey. Rest." A sanitized way to say, "Get out of the way." Linda forced her trembling legs forward until the gate clicked behind her. She walked to her car without looking back. She couldn't bear to see them laughing again. Inside the car, she gripped the steering wheel so tightly her knuckles turned white. Then, for the first time in years, she let herself break. She buried her face in her hands and sobbed, deep, raw sobs that shook her entire body. Not because of the joke, not because of the cake, not even because of the cruel laughter, but because of the truth behind it. They meant it. They really, truly meant it. Her sons, her babies, wanted her gone. When the tears finally stopped, Linda wiped her face with shaking fingers. She pulled down the sun visor, stared into the small mirror, and saw her own red eyes, her smeared mascara, the lines on her face etched by decades of sacrifice. And suddenly, something in her gaze changed. Not sadness, not hurt, something sharper. A spark. Something she hadn't felt in decades. Resolve. She started the car. If her sons wanted her to disappear, she would. But not into a senior home. She would disappear from their lives and into the life she had always deserved but never allowed herself to imagine. They didn't know the truth. They didn't know about the beach house in Santa Barbara she had inherited and rented quietly. They didn't know about the trust account she had been building for years. They didn't know she wasn't a helpless old woman. They just assumed she was. They didn't know that by pushing her out, they were pushing her into freedom. As Linda drove home, a quiet certainty settled over her. She was done begging for love, done accepting crumbs, done shrinking herself to stay close. And tomorrow? Tomorrow she would start planning her escape, her reinvention, her new life. And one day, very soon, Matthew and Ryan would realize the greatest truth of all. They had not abandoned their mother. They had lost the best person they ever had.